was the kind of guy who kind of would badmouth most a lot.
Steven Seagal has finally broken his silence on the last words of Chuck Norris, and what he revealed is not just unexpected, but forces a serious reevaluation of what people think they know about him. Because for years, Chuck Norris has been treated as a symbol more than a person, and now suddenly the conversation is shifting toward something far more personal and far more real. And the most important thing to understand from the start is that there is no officially confirmed report of his death, which makes everything being discussed even more complicated. As the topic began trending across platforms, multiple claims started circulating about Chuck Norris's last moments, with different versions appearing in videos, posts, and discussions. However, none of these claims have been verified by any official source, and no confirmed statement has been released regarding his death or any final words. This creates a situation where curiosity increases, but facts remain limited, forcing attention toward what is being said rather than what is confirmed. At the same time, discussions about a possible cause of death also began appearing, with some suggesting age-related reasons and others proposing different explanations. But again, there is no official confirmation supporting any of these claims, and they remain part of unverified online speculation. Because of this, it is important to treat all such information carefully and understand that the narrative is still unclear and incomplete. Then comes the part that changed the direction of this entire topic, when Steven Seagal finally addressed the situation after staying silent. For a noticeable period, he made no public comment, which increased curiosity, especially considering both figures belong to the same martial arts film era. And when he finally spoke, the focus was not on confirming events but on reflecting on what Chuck Norris represented. Seagal's statement did not include any direct confirmation of last words, and he avoided making any absolute claims about specific final moments. Instead, he spoke in a general but meaningful way, pointing toward values like discipline, strength, and consistency, which were always associated with Chuck Norris. This approach made his words more about interpretation rather than revelation, which added another layer of curiosity to the discussion. At this point, it becomes necessary to understand who Chuck Norris actually is, beyond the viral narratives and exaggerated claims. He is a martial artist, actor, and public figure known for his disciplined approach to life and his influence on action cinema. His identity is built on real achievements in martial arts and a long career in film and television, not just internet popularity. His early life was far from extraordinary, as he has described himself as shy, introverted, and academically average during his childhood. He grew up in a challenging environment which played a significant role in shaping his mindset and pushing him towards self-discipline. This transformation from an ordinary background into a globally recognized figure is one of the most important aspects of his story. His journey into martial arts began during his service in the United States Air Force, where he was introduced to Tang Soo Do and started training seriously. After returning to the United States, he continued his training, opened martial arts schools, and eventually entered competitive tournaments. Over time, he became a champion, gaining recognition for his skills and discipline in the martial arts community. But this is where the story becomes more interesting because despite all the achievements and public recognition, the current discussion is not about his career. The focus keeps returning to what Steven Seagal chose to say and why he avoided giving a clear answer about last words. And this raises an important question, whether the silence itself is more meaningful than any statement. As his career progressed, Chuck Norris transitioned from martial arts into the film industry, where he quickly became a recognizable action star. His role in The Way of the Dragon alongside Bruce Lee introduced him to international audiences. From there, he continued building a strong presence in action films throughout the 1980s and 1990s. He starred in multiple successful films and later gained even wider recognition through the television series Walker, Texas Ranger. This show played a major role in shaping his public image as a disciplined and morally strong character. His consistent on-screen persona reinforced the values he was known for in real life. Beyond acting, he expanded into writing, public speaking, and promoting fitness and discipline, which further strengthened his influence. He also became a cultural figure through internet memes, which introduced him to a younger generation in a different way. This combination of serious achievements and cultural relevance made him a unique figure in modern media. As the current narrative continued, reactions from the public remained mixed, with some people accepting the claims and others questioning their authenticity. There have been no fully verified tributes from major confirmed sources specifically addressing his death, which again highlights the lack of official confirmation. However, his overall impact on martial arts and entertainment is widely acknowledged regardless of current rumors. And this brings the focus back again to Steven Seagal's statement, because even without confirming anything, it has become central to the discussion. His words did not provide answers, but they directed attention toward the values that defined Chuck Norris throughout his life. This shift from facts to meaning is what keeps the audience engaged and searching for clarity. Because in situations where information is incomplete, people naturally try to connect known facts with uncertain claims. They look at a person's life, their beliefs, and their actions to understand what their final message might have been. And in the case of Chuck Norris, those elements are already well documented and widely recognized. He has consistently promoted ideas like discipline, resilience, and faith, which have been reflected in both his personal life and professional career. These values are not just part of his public image, but are supported by his actions, writings, and long-term consistency. This is why any discussion about his last words automatically connects back to these same principles. Steven Seagal's approach reinforces this connection because instead of introducing new or unexpected ideas, he stayed within that same framework. He focused on what Chuck Norris stood for, rather than what he supposedly said at a specific moment. And this consistency is what makes his statement feel more grounded, even without providing concrete details. At the same time, the absence of confirmed facts continues to drive curiosity because people want clarity in situations like this. They want to know whether the claims are true, what actually happened, and what the real story is behind the headlines. But until official confirmation is available, all such discussions remain incomplete. And this is where the real takeaway begins to form, because the importance of this topic is not limited to verifying a single statement. It extends to understanding how narratives are created, how information spreads, and how public figures are remembered. In many cases, the story becomes larger than the facts themselves. Chuck Norris's legacy is not dependent on any single moment or statement, because it has been built over decades of consistent work and influence. His contributions to martial arts, film, and popular culture are already well established and widely recognized. This is why his name continues to generate attention, even in uncertain or unverified situations. And when someone like Steven Seagal speaks, even in a limited or indirect way, it adds another layer to that attention. Not because it confirms anything, but because it connects two well-known figures within the same narrative. This connection alone is enough to sustain interest and keep the conversation active. Because ultimately, people are not just interested in facts, they are interested in meaning, in understanding what a person represents. And in this case, the representation of Chuck Norris remains strong, regardless of what is confirmed or unconfirmed. This is what keeps the topic relevant and widely discussed. And in the end, what Steven Seagal has done is not reveal a definitive truth, but redirect attention towards something more consistent and reliable. He has pointed back to the life, the values, and the identity of Chuck Norris, rather than focusing on unverified claims. And that is what makes his statement significant, even without clear answers. Because some figures are remembered not for how they end, but for what they represent over time. Chuck Norris falls into that category, where the legacy continues regardless of current narratives or speculation. And that is why this story continues to hold attention, even without confirmed facts.